If it's lined up perfect, that's the deviation. You see that dip? It's slightly extended in the background. See those 3 peaks? That's the difference. It's fascinating. It's very, very fascinating. This is a really powerful machine. This is the difference between a company throwing balanced armatures in, giving it a quick check, making sure there's no, disasters going on, and selling it. And then people get it, graph it to certain degrees of accuracy and wonder what the fuck were these people thinking? Or it looks genius. And that's the difference between companies that use equipment that can adjust live and with fantastic detail. I've been using this for quite a while. It's a really amazing piece of kit. And you, the viewer, are going to work with me and create what is kind of a crowd-funded, except it's not really going to be crowd-funded. It's going to be done interactively. That's the Lattice 8 BA. That's the Acme, built to work with this. And then there's, I think, a 5. That might be a dynamic, a 3. A 6. And another 5, I believe. You're gonna help tune that, and 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 this, and I'm gonna do this one. Instead of somebody else telling you what's good, you have a chance now to tell somebody else what's good. And likely more affordable. You can take something that is much more expensive, contains, well, let me show you. So you saw the graph that I just showed, right? Let me pull that back in here. It's notable because of what companies do. They see an item of a configuration that's popular, that sells well, and think to themselves, like a car company would do, or a computer company would do, or a television company would do, or any other company, try to do what the winning formula is at a cheaper price and hope that it works. It's done in cell phones and cars and televisions and everything. Every day of your life, people are competing for your money. And they go about, in this business, it's easier than maybe some other businesses because you're taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to up to 12 little balanced armature transducers and replicating a signature. 5, 5. Done without consideration towards the other. Why would they be? There was no thought. I will point out that in a live stream, somebody came in and said, as soon as I heard that item, I remembered that item. And I didn't pay any attention because I didn't want to get into that. But then I did these prints and I was looking at them and I thought, that's crazy. And then hold it up to the light and try to line up the bars and think, that's super crazy. And that's before I knew about this thing. And that's before I knew that what companies do is, I blacked it out, they take a ideal model. Now, the caveat here is it's got to contain certain types of balanced armatures. Sonian, Knowles, they've got to fit into certain parameters to be able to emulate what it is you're trying to do. And if what you're trying to do is, and this was brought up by more than one person, and they weren't reviewers or hype people. They would just come in. They might not even be on YouTube anymore. They might have bought something, left, thought, you know how many people bought this and loved it, and love it still to this day? It's a vampire. You can't kill it. The only thing to kill this is quality control. And they did a good job all by themselves, more than any reviewer could do. But there was an active attempt made. You're looking at it, man. You're looking at the machine that can do it. One of them, and I've got it in my possession, and I've done it. I've emulated in frequency response. Does that mean it's going to sound exactly the same? No. So let me get to another point here. I used to work for a guy that was, well, fuck it. His name was Bob. He was Italian, and he actually worked with, what the fuck's his name? The Boston gangster that got killed in jail a few years ago. He was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted. He used to work with everybody, actually. He didn't care about guineas or anything. What the fuck was his name? They did a fucking Jack Nicholson did a movie about him. Oh, Bulger, Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger had connections all across Boston, and one of them was to a crew of Italians, and one of the Italians in that crew was my boss. And he was actually in Hawaii because he was as far away from the east coast of the United States as he could be, but still be in America. And Hawaii's got its own kind of legal system. The FBI wants to bust corrupt cops in Hawaii. Yeah, good luck with that. They've been trying to do that for 25, 30 years. You can't break it. If you're not from the island, you're not from the island. So Bob had a really safe place to be. And I used to work for Bob. And this is applicable to this, even though it sounds... Why are you talking about the mob? What the fuck is this guy doing? I'm going to the beach tomorrow, so I'm doing some super stoked, in a good mood. I'm trying to give you guys you're going to help tune some balanced armatures. We're going to maybe do that on Patreon only, because I don't want to publish a bunch of videos just dedicated towards the tuning, because I'm going to be doing it probably live stream while we check it, and you guys look at that. I want to get feedback. How it looks and how it sounds is pretty predictable, actually. It's a good and bad thing. Anyway, Bob was teaching me about he's Sicilian, real Sicilian, and he was teaching me to cook, because I was the only guy. I was part-time going to university, but I was the guy that would walk out and tell other workers, hey, I finish at 9 o'clock. I'm not finishing at 10 because you don't do your fucking job. Do your fucking job, and because I'm getting out of here. I ain't your boss, but I ain't fucking waiting for you. So do your fucking job. Stop fucking yapping. Do your job. And then Bob's watching me, and he's like, I trust you. I want you to, when I'm not here, you need to do things. And I said, fine. And so it was the cooking and other stuff. But in the cooking in particular of the Sicilian food, he would always say the same thing. He would say, if you do anything different than what I'm telling you to do, anything, if you use less salt, if you use less yeast, if you keep this dough in the freezer a little shorter, a little longer, you're going to get different results than me. This is my restaurant. I don't want different results. Do exactly what I told you to do. Do you under-fucking-stand? I under-fucking-stand. And I did exactly what the fuck he said, because he was good at what he did. He was a fucking fantastic cook. This is a metal bodied with a... This is different from this. It looks very, very close. But if you take a plastic shell and compare it to the tonality and the sound and the micro details of a much denser metal, it's going to sound different. It may graph the same, but it's going to sound different. It gets back to Bob. If you do anything different than what I do, you are going to end up with a different result. It's fantastically fucking simple. Is it not? I do reviews of headphones, and I put the music in the video so that you know, and then people get it and they say, you know what, I don't listen to what he listens to, but this doesn't sound. Hey, I showed you what I listened to. I talked about the parts of particular songs. That's what I base my opinions on. If you MacGyver it in any way, it's going to come out different. We used to do this with the bass head threads too. You can't change stuff. You can take 5BAs, you can take a machine, you can try to emulate it, you can get it almost bang on, a few dB here, maybe +2, +2, +2. Shockingly close. But that is notable. And the performance, even if the balanced armature is the same, that these are existing in different materials is going to make a difference. And it did. But people with good ears could sense something familiar. And they weren't part of any train. And I haven't heard from them since, but they were there. And people blew them off like they were out of their minds. Somebody did a review comparing the two of them in a mocking way. I mock him now. I say he's got no fucking ears. They don't sound the same, but they're not that fucking far away. Science, man. If somebody might say, "Oh, he didn't show," no, that definitely dips more. Keep looking at it though. Was it an accident? No, it wasn't. It was marketing. And it's going on all the time. And I'm going to do it. This one's going to be my baby. I think what I want to try to do with it. The unfortunate thing is that a 10BA would be optimal because one of my favorite tunings was the QDC Anole VX. That, with a couple nips and tucks, would be my dream set. But I don't have a set of 10BA. I got 8, and 6, and 5, and 4, and 3, and I think a 2. And we're going to make some stuff, and you're going to be a part of it. And for the first time in YouTube history, if you choose to, you're going to be connected to the tuning of a set that might get produced. I would say probably 2 to 3 of these are going to get produced because the concept is going to be the opposite of what is regular, whereas you sell something and people graph it. This is going to be listened to and graphed first and then built. And if it's built in the same way that it's graphed and tuned from the beginning forward, you might say that there's another company in Korea that's doing that already. They didn't share their graph yet though. They said that they tuned it themselves. That's fine and good. I had this before they actually had that on their site. And then the idea came, why don't you try to tune it? And I said, I got good ears and I've heard lots of sets, but why don't you involve the community with this and make it everybody's instead of one person? So if somebody says, oh, I don't like Bad Boy's ears, well, then you lost them already. Why would anybody in business want to automatically lose a portion of their customer base automatically? Some people might say Critical. How about Critical? He's got good ears. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. We both liked the X1000 a lot. We both hated the CL1 by RHA tremendously. So we've got a commonality between the two. But there would be people that would say, I don't agree with his rankings. He's got a lot of expensive stuff. And then you would take a group of people and you would marginalize them automatically by choosing a person and saying, by the way, I was given the opportunity to just do this myself. 1 or 2 would definitely make it to the market. Definitely. And I said, nah, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Take the group and the community that are going to pay the money and involve them with the tuning. Make them a part of it. A real part of it. Not like, yeah, okay, I'm listening to you. Like visual lines where people say, I like that. I like that. Where people using, listening, have things similar to that. And people are saying, if this was around this price and was tuned similar to that, I'd be all over that. You are building a buyer base before the product exists. And there's some people out there that their little radars are going because they're saying, this guy is sometimes a fucking genius. Actually, I was measured like a fucking graph by doctors and who did IQ tests when I was 13 years old. They did it 2 times, by the way, and the number was really high. You'd be fucking shocked. I suck at math, but I scored really high. Makes me question the value of that test. But it is another measuring system, and I think it's ridiculed now. But I get it sometimes. So when a person's telling me, who's in the business, we're going to do this, A, B, and C, I say, A sounds good, C sounds good, but how about we take B and we modify it? Instead of taking me and everybody that doesn't like me are just personal or tuning, and eliminate them automatically by attaching me to it, or taking somebody else that does good graphs, because there's people that don't agree with him too. Everybody that's out there that's got strong opinions has people that are on the opposite side of them, opposing them automatically. So if you take any set and you say tune by, you're automatically going to take a group of people and say, yeah, I ain't touching that. Why would you do that in business? Why don't you take the whole community and bunch them together and say, this is ours, this is yours, you can be a part of this, and it's going to get done. And then the people that don't want a part of that, I wouldn't actually understand that. That's people that wouldn't be happy in any situation. Why don't you say from the beginning, this is a group endeavor, and the 5BA tuning is going to be done by committee. Why don't we do that? Build the community first, tune second, build last. You're gonna sell some of that because they are part of it. Their input is on a graph. They did that for the one and only time, maybe ever, or it's the beginning of a new style. They and their words were not just replied to with politeness or rudeness or not replied to. It was collected, gathered, agreed upon, tried, and created. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? If somebody told me, hey, your inputs are valuable, you've listened to lots of stuff, I'd like to know what you think about. And if somebody says, you know what, that looks good, and I know people saying that, but I remember that set, go listen to that again, listen to that song, tell me if you really want to put all this work into building something like that. Boom, 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 fuck, you're right. That's where the whole community comes in full force. Because where one person might know, your own ego gets in the way. Mine does, everybody's does. I like this, I don't want to adjust. No, throw that out. That ain't good for business. That you don't make money like that. Don't marginalize anybody. Anybody. Include everybody and allow them to depart as they will. But don't start the project excluding anybody. So this is going to be a project. And if you've got a set that you really, really loved, but you thought it was maybe a little bit too expensive, there's a possibility that this could get done in a more affordable way than your ideal. That's the proposal, and that's my idea. And I'm going to the beach tomorrow, and I'm in a super good mood, so I thought, why don't we do this? And I go ahead and announce it. This machine has a capability to emulate anything out there. And if you say, wait a second, you're taking other people's intellectual property. Well, you're joking, number one, and there are thousands and thousands of earphones out there, and some of them are super cheap and sound very close to very expensive ones, and therein lies the rub that people have expensive stuff and know that there's stuff that's cheaper that sounds pretty close, and there's people that got cheaper stuff that have had more expensive and know it's pretty close. You're gonna run into similar graph accidentally or on purpose. Does it matter which one it is? The goal of this project isn't to copy another set, but it would maybe possibly be through the suggestion of a majority of the group to say, I think this was probably the best 6BA ever made. I just thought it needed a little more sparkle, or it needed a little more sub bass or something like that. That's where you take a dream and you make it a reality. You get back what you put in. The feedback is the return of the input given. Isn't that kind of the definition? So I'm not looking for feedback. The feedback is going to be the product. Can you understand? This will be the feedback. Your input is wanted first. your input to what would be the ideal 6, 5, 4 BA rig. What was the awesome one, and what was it lacking just a little bit? Can do it. Got it right here. Got it right here. Got you right there watching this video. This could be really, really, really cool. I've been using it for quite a while, and it's absolutely amazing. And I took 20 minutes of your life, and I'm not sorry totally for this one, because this could be awesome. It'll be as good if I've got to go my own way. I actually won't ever, because I'm not in a rush and nobody's pushing me speed-wise. So this is going to be no rush on you. Do your research and check the one that you like the best. If consensus develops, then that would be the way that it's proceed. It will literally come down to a majority vote. I think at the end, when a lot of people, if the target is reasonably similar from the beginning, then it's going to be easier to get. Like, this was the ideal model, but it was lacking a little bit here, wherever that is. Well, we fix that. We make it what it was, with that one deficiency that was generally agreed upon as being its kind of weakness. I love this set. If the sub bass, man, if the sub bass was better, it'd be my one and only. But we can do this. You, me, the machine, the earphones. It's right here. It's like it's right there. Let's do this. Seriously. It's time. Community. Done by the community first, then sent. Make this, Mr. Maker Man, because everybody says that they want it. I'd buy that. And if I'd buy that, I have to think that other people would. So, include everybody. Make them a part of it. It just seems to make too much sense. I'm out of here. I'm going to go swimming tomorrow and have a great day. I hope you guys do too. This project is starting today. And I'm out. No, not today, because I'm going swimming tomorrow. Day after tomorrow. No, I'm going swimming on Sunday too. From Monday. But you can leave comments in this video. What is the ideal set? Tell me the BA configuration. If it falls within the parameters of these instructions, and I'll confirm that with you, then that is the start point. And I have no shame in contacting whatever company it is that made the ideal set that didn't have enough sub bass, that had a little bit too much of a spike at AK. I don't care. They don't either, actually. You'd be surprised that they're all a giant community that wants everybody to win. It's kind of nationalistic in its sense, that you would be very surprised that when one seller sells a lot of stuff, that another seller is quite happy, because that means that more people are getting involved with Chi-Fi. It's not as competitive as like reviewers are. Seriously, that might be a shock to you guys, but the reviewer rivalry, which is huge, is more intense than the sellers are. They're really, at the end of the day, trying to get people to have a positive view of Chinese-built earphones. And when one does that really well, then they, and on a certain level, they're genuinely happy. I've gotten thanks from other companies because I promoted another one and they did really well. That doesn't make any sense. That would be like Empire Years sending me a mail saying, you did a real good job, 64 audio sold a bunch. They would never do that. But a Chi-Fi company would, because it's happened twice. They're kind of impressive in that sense. They're independent, but at a certain level they're unified. That's scary in other senses. But as far as like quality and going to the customer feeling happy, coming back again, that's just good business. Let's get in the game. I'm out.